Welcome to Pardon the Interruption, Penn State Sports Night edition. The weather may be getting colder, but things are heating up in the NFL as Week 5 wraps up. Some teams continue to establish themselves as top contenders, while others have their fans wishing it was still the offseason. I'm Anneke Wagner. Alongside me are Ellis and Michael Landis, giving you a rundown from across the league. Ethan, let's start with the NFC East. So what are your thoughts from this week?
Well, clearly the Philadelphia Eagles are the class of the division. This is their division, and honestly, this is their conference to lose. They're undefeated so far, just got a huge win over the Rams, and really have not shown that much stopping or slowing down any, except for their one divisional game against the Commanders. Speaking of the Commanders, huge loss this past week against the Bears. Sam Howell sacked 5 times. They really just have not looked good. Only 29 yards of rushing, a lot for them to fix. The New York Giants, probably even worse, honestly. The offensive line is atrocious. Finally injured Daniel Jones, which honestly I saw coming way before this. But Giants definitely going to probably wind up being last in the division. And then you have the Cowboys, who got exposed last night on Sunday Night Football. They are not good. Dak Prescott's not the answer, and that's basically all there is.
Yeah, I'm going to swing it over to the other team here in the East, in the AFC. And I'm going to start off with the Buffalo Bills this week, who I was very disappointed with. They had their international game in London, which counted as a home game for them, and they lost to the Jaguars. It was a big upset for them. And now they're not in the lead of the division anymore after killing the Dolphins last week. The Dolphins take care of business against the Giants at home. They moved to 4-1 in the lead of the division. I thought the Bills had this division secured. Now I think that the Dolphins honestly might have a better chance. Although they don't match up well head-to-head, if the Dolphins are able to keep playing as explosive as they do against any other team but the Bills, they got this division on locks. And meanwhile, for the Jets and Patriots, unfortunately, they are still kind of suffering. The Jets are doing slightly better. Zach Wilson is looking a little bit more promising for Jet fans. But for Patriot fans, it's not looking good at all. They have scored 3 points in their last 2 games. They are really failing to move the ball on offense. There are a lot of questions around Mac Jones and Bill Belichick, and we might see some changes soon there. So, unfortunately, that's what's going to go.
Yep, it's looking like a battle for the top and the bottom. But let's swing it to the other coast and talk about the NFC West. Now, after a big game in primetime football Sunday night, Ethan, what are your thoughts on the 49ers?
Well, honestly, they're the Eagles' biggest competition when it comes to this NFC Championship. Brock Purdy is showing why he is probably one of the biggest surprises in recent years at quarterback. Mr. Irrelevant is showing out for his team, and you've got George Kittle, who's catching 3 touchdowns in a game. The 49ers have a loaded offense, a loaded defense. They have everything they need to go to a Super Bowl. Then you look at the Rams, who really have been up and down this season. They have a really good wide receiver room, which I was kind of surprised about. I did not expect Puka Nacua to be as good as he was this season, but now they have Cooper Kupp back. Matt Stafford has all he needs on the offense to make that Rams team work. The Seahawks, they've been up and down this season. They're going to need to fix some things if they want to compete in this division, but I really don't see them competing. And then you have the ugly of the division, and that's the Cardinals. They just really have not been able to compete at all. And really, I think it's partly because there's no Kyler Murray, but it's partly because they just have no talent on that team whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll take it from there. I'm going to swing it back over to the AFC West, and I'm going to give you another dominant team, the Kansas City Chiefs, who I think are going to repeat winners of the division again. There's just a clear-cut choice. There are no other teams that are really competing for it. I think Patrick Mahomes, he does it year in, year out. It's the same exact thing. Him and Travis Kelce are going to continue to dominate. It doesn't matter. Tyreek Hill was gone last season. Guess what? They still won the Super Bowl. He's got Rashee Rice. He's got all these receivers up in there. He's got Sky Moore, and guess what? He still gets the job done. Look, Justin Herbert is doing the most that he can. He had a cast on his hand the entire game, and guess what? He still got the job done against the Raiders. I give him toughness, but it's still going to be the Chiefs' division. Unfortunately, the Raiders are having their struggles with Josh McDaniels. A lot of people want him fired. We're going to have to see how they carried out. The defense is kind of selling them. But the Broncos are the pity of the division. Unfortunately, they are at the bottom right now. They just suffered another loss yesterday at home to the New York Jets. They fall to 1-4. A lot of questions around Russell Wilson, mainly Sean Payton. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it is a struggle for the Broncos. But let's go and head down south. Now, Ethan, what do you think that the Saints have to do to put themselves into contention?
Well, honestly, they just need a repeat of this past week where they shut out the New England Patriots. Obviously, the Patriots aren't really that good of a team and won't be competing that much for the AFC title, but I mean, their defense played lights out this past weekend, and if their defense can continue to do that, I think they give Derek Carr and the offense a really good opportunity for this division. But they're going to have to battle the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. And Baker Mayfield really has surprised me with how good he's been this season. He's not thought of to be one of the most dominant quarterbacks in the league, but he's really surprised me. And then you move on to the Carolina Panthers. Haven't won a game yet this season, and Bryce Young really hasn't shown me too much at quarterback. Really just has been a huge disappointment this season. Obviously struggling with some injuries, so we'll have to see how it goes. And then you've got the Atlanta Falcons. Desmond Ridder, not the answer for them at quarterback, plain and simple. Had a pitiful performance against the Jags in London. Luckily, he does have Bijan in the backfield, though. Super huge talent there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you were just talking about, some of those disappointments, I'm going to swing it over to a team, some teams that are not disappointing, and some rookie quarterbacks who have actually showed out completely in the AFC South. We have C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson. Unfortunately, Anthony Richardson got injured again yesterday, but C.J. Stroud has been lights out so far for the Texans. This is a team that everybody thought was going to be at the bottom of the division, possibly one of the worst teams in the NFL again. Guess what? They're right back up there. They're competing every single game. They nearly came out with a W in Atlanta, and we're almost 3-2. They're 2-3. They're still fighting. That division is still very winnable. You are looking at a team with the Jacksonville Jaguars who are looking to reclaim their title once again. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, their connection looks solid. They look like they can lead this team to another playoff card, all right? And I can see it. Unfortunately, there's also some setbacks with some of these teams that are still fighting for it. The Indianapolis Colts, Gardner Minshew Mania is not giving up. He's still in it, and I think you cannot leave them out. Tennessee Titans, I'm sorry, but you are out of this race.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be some tough divisional battles there. But let's put on our jackets and head back up north. Now, one team that is taking the league by storm, the Lions. And Ethan, do you think that they are a top contender?
I definitely think they are. They're definitely the strongest team to come out of the NFC North this year. Jared Goff is proving why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And they have a surprise breakout in Sam Laporta at tight end. I really didn't expect him to succeed as much as he is this year, but he's been playing great. So this Detroit Lions team, after a huge Week 1 win over the Kansas City Chiefs, really has been shocking some people. But then you go to the Green Bay Packers, who really are having some growing pains, I would say. Missing Aaron Rodgers this season, missing some of the stars they've had on offense in the past. Just a few growing pains. I don't really see them being huge competition for the Lions, but moving on to one team that's definitely not going to be competition for the Lions this season is the Minnesota Vikings. Just haven't been very strong this season. There's really no excuse for it whatsoever. You've got Kirk Cousins, Jordan Addison, and you've also got Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the league. No excuse for them to be this bad. They're keeping their games close, though. And then you go to Chicago Bears, which I think enough has been said about them already. They've got a running back at quarterback, and they need to fire their coach. End of story.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of teams that have kind of been a little bit disappointing this season, like the Bears, the Cincinnati Bengals, honestly, in the AFC North have been one of the most disappointing teams. Obviously, they're only 2-3 right now, a game back of the division lead, but they don't look good at all. They're 0-2 in the division to start this year, and Joe Burrow just doesn't look the same. They had a nice bounce-back week in Arizona, and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase had a really nice connection. You know, Chase had 15 catches, 3 touchdowns. They look amazing. They look back like themselves. But the biggest game of the week that surprised me was the Ravens losing to the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Was I completely surprised? No. It's the AFC North. Anything can happen. It's always gritty battles between these teams. I feel bad for Lamar Jackson because the Ravens easily could have won that game. His receivers dropped a ton of passes. But guess what? The Steelers came in, they got the job done, and now they're in the lead of the AFC North, which nobody would have ever guessed. They could possibly make a run at this. I still got the Ravens taking this division, though. And the Browns, who are a wild card team, are still making their push, all right? If Deshaun Watson can make it, this defense is top 5, led by Myles Garrett. They can make a push towards the playoffs as well.
Yep, you definitely summed it up. It's always a gritty battle in the North. But I'm excited to see which team will stay undefeated the longest, the 49ers or the Eagles. But the NFL promises even more excitement in the weeks to come. But that's all our time for tonight. For Ethan, Ellis, and Michael Landis, I'm Anneke Wagner. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great night.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night.
For more content like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a like, and follow our socials down below.
And as always, we are
Penn State Sports Night.